So on this Thoughts Rewind, I'm going to give once again my thoughts on a bit of a controversy in 2005 with Playmore. Yes, SNKPlaymore to be precise, but to some extent I gave a history about it. Playmore, they were, let's just say, assy when it comes with Sony because there was the supposedly anti 2D policy rule. So the reason I'm doing this rewind is it's sort of a follow-up on the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 commentary, which I said it would be a great idea to port this particular fighting game on modern console. Yes, it's on the arcade 1-up, but not everyone's gonna really pay $600. I mean, the Uber arcade fans probably. I like the game, but I'm not gonna pay $600. Rather have a console than a baby arcade, but that's just me. I did suggest to Arcade 1-up to maybe sort of a plug and play or something that you can plug it on the TV, but who cares? Who knows? Whatever. We'll just have to wait and see. So anyway, at the same time, during EVO 2022, there was some sort of hints that Capcom and SNK Entertainment were getting buddy-buddy because there was a special poster with the artist from Capcom and SNK. Looks awesome. So is there something? Is there nothing? Well, it might be a hint in something because remember, on the Switch, on Steam as well, there was SNK versus Capcom Match of the Millennium. Have it, played it, fun, hard. But on the Switch also has SNK versus Capcom Card Clash. I also bought that because I like that crossover. Card game, so hard, different story. So that's something. And of course, Mega Man Power Battle Collection for the Neo Geo Pocket as well on the Switch. I mean, you can get that one or the Capcom Arcade Stadium second, but beside the point there. So there might be something there. Hopefully, there might be something. So a lot of stories now is that hopefully Arcade 1-up or Capcom or SNK can do some sort of Capcom versus SNK collection, which has Capcom versus SNK 1 and 2. And for this particular rewind, SNK versus Capcom Chaos. So the rewind for this one is, I already gave my thoughts on the main channel, is the story of why SNK versus Capcom Chaos did not release in the West on the PlayStation 2. Even so, a lot of people wanted it, including myself, port banking to Playmore, but then it was on deaf's ear. I kind of gave a story about it and something about price issue there. So with that said, here it is. Once again, Thoughts Rewind about why Playmore refused to release SNK vs. Capcom Chaos for the PlayStation 2 in the US. Hello guys, it's NautoAce. The elephant in the room, the history behind this game, the controversy. So I did always mention this before, even in my vlog channel a long time ago about SNK. I did mention about this game. So once again, in more detail, what is SNK versus Capcom Chaos and what's the controversy? So the controversy started on the console side. So when Playmore bought back SNK and they became SNKPlaymore. So if you know what happened in the past, the gist of it is 2000 and 2001, SNK went bankrupt, and the co-founder of that company created his own company called Playmore. And then after a while, when he started to make money because of Playmore, he decided to buy back SNK, thus becoming SNKPlaymore. So before the bankruptcy, like I said, Capcom and SNK decided to make a cross-promotion deal that each one of the company are required. One game, yeah. So, of course, if you notice in my rewind, I kind of mentioned that it was two. That was my mistake. I did correct on that one. It's only just one. They need to do at least one arcade fighting game. And like I said, in both sides, for Capcom is Capcom versus SNK Millennium Fight 2000. I mean, not a lot of characters, just Street Fighter versus Street Fighter, but the quality is there. I mean, you can see it on episode 220, so you can't really deny that. Again, usually crossovers are cut and paste to some extent. I mean, it is what it is there, And the SNK side is SNK versus Capcom SBC Chaos. And that game, the arcade version or the MVS, was developed by Playmore, not SNK. Because by the time I think SNK was already starting to go in bankruptcy, however, they had to honor that deal. So Playmore said, okay, we'll do the game, we'll develop it, we'll use our technology, which is the MVS. And of course, he went to the AES. And then later on, home console. It did have an improvement, so a little bit tricky for this impression. It's going to be two versions, MVS and the console version. The controversy started when SNK finally went back to become SNKPlaymore. So at first, for me personally, I said, oh, I'm so happy SNK's back. Now they can make games. They're going to provide games on the PS2, because when they made a comeback, it was during the PS2 era. So people don't know what that means, the PS2 era. It was the era where the PlayStation 2 dominated the video game generation, defeating the Dreamcast, defeating the GameCube, and the Xbox. Because even so, the quality of the games were, not too far versus the Xbox or even the GameCube. There were a lot of variety exclusive games to a point that people were buying PS2. That's the whole point, because not only the PS2 has a variety of games, even the quality wasn't there, they also have their first DVD, including myself. My first DVD was, believe it or not, was the PlayStation 2. And people like that, the general consumer like that, thus it's called the PS2 era. Nobody couldn't dominate except for Sony, so they did something right there, but again, that's what it is. So at the same time, SNK was starting to put some games on home console. So some of the first games that they were going to plan to put in was Metal Slug 3 and SNK versus Capcom. So people were excited or happy. E3 2004 basically announced that they were going to do it. And then before E3 2005, there were some rumors, there was some rumbling. They were saying apparently Sony and SNK were not seeing eye to eye, to a point like there might be something there that denying them to release the game. And look and behold, guess what? Yeah, the rumors were true. And Ben Herman, the president at the time for SNKPlaymore, announced that unfortunately in the West, we cannot release SNK vs. Capcom and Metal Slug 3 for the PlayStation 2. And they didn't really say the reason, like there was no official. They just said unfortunately Sony rejected the game, to a point that they said, hey, you know what? Fine, we're gonna make it a Microsoft exclusive, and that's what happened. And a lot of the fans, including myself, who were SNK, I wanted to support the company, give them my money logistically. That's a keyword there. I'll mention that later why. But they just said, nah, like if you want to play this game, you gotta do it in the Xbox. Like that's what it is. People were mad. I was mad. We were sending email. And this is before Twitter and Facebook, but people were emailing Ben Herman saying that this is not right. You gotta rectify this, but they never did because they couldn't. They couldn't rectify it. That was the problem. They could not rectify it. And a lot of the report, and this is not official, and that's the problem. There was no official, but the report was the reason why it was rejected was Sony wanted the game to have a lower price. Their MSRP, and of course you can see it now because of the Xbox. Playmore wanted SVC Chaos, SNK vs. Capcom, to be sold in a MSRP of $50, and Metal Slug 3 with an MSRP of $40 for a 2D game. And the argument there was that in Sony's perspective, that when the game is quality of 2D, you have to sell the game with an MSRP of the maximum of $40 or below. Ever wonder why Capcom vs. SNK 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Guilty Gear 2, and any fighting game, the highest ever MSRP was $40. Granted, Guilty Gear Isuka was $50. I don't know how they got away with that, but most of the time, from what I heard reports, was most fighting games that are sort of 2D-ish quality must be at least $40 or below, but it's a case-by-case basis. But of course, SNK vs. Capcom, it's run by an MVS engine. Metal Slug 3 was an MVS engine, which it's a 2D engine, like straight out. There's no 3D element in it to some extent.
So of course they're not gonna say, well, that doesn't make sense selling that to a high price. Like, why would you want to sell SVC the same price as Kingdom Hearts 2? I mean, you tell me. I mean, did ask a lot of people about that. Like, would you ever buy this game for $50? Like in the late 2010 and so on, they said, why would I do that? This game's 2D. That should be like $10. So you're gonna see idea there. So there was no concrete proof, but a lot of the reason why that never came out, and some of them also, King Fighter Neo Wave, Samurai Shodown 5, heck, even 6, even King Fighter Rebound to some extent, but that game got cancelled, was that they wanted a lower MSRP. Playmore said, no, we gotta sell it at least $40 or more. And that was been like the factor. Not official, but that's a lot of people were saying that the factor was price issue, because in the long run, a former Sony employee basically addressed the 2D policy rule. And here's the deal. No, there is no such thing as an official 2D policy rule, but they have that sort of policy to make note that, hey, if you're gonna have a game that's 2D, you just have to sell it in a lower price. And the reason why they have that is Sony knows the general consumer, heck, even some gamers who are logistic, no, they're not gonna pay $50 for SNK vs. Capcom Chaos. And you know what? That former Sony employee was right. Look what happened when they finally released for the Xbox on the SNK forum. Yes, they had an SNK forum at one point. It said, really? $50 for this? While the better version, Capcom vs. SNK 2, Mark of the Millennium 2001, is $40. That doesn't make sense. Like, what are you thinking? And again, yeah, this is the mentality of the Western audience. I don't know about the Japanese audience. Maybe some of them are in the same league. Maybe some of them are not. And the argument behind that, Dan Herman and his boss, the founder of SNK, said that if you really are a true fan of SNK, a big supporter, you would not care the price. You would just give us money and get the game. That's what the mentality is. They even argue, oh, just because it's 2D doesn't mean it's bad. So, kind of a bit political on the video game. Oh, just because it's 2D doesn't mean it's bad. No, but look at the quantity, the quality, and the presentation. It's like, the analogy maybe I can say is a chili fries versus the regular fries. Because of the quantity. Chili fries, you know, you have chili, your cheese. Capcom versus SNK, you know, 3D using the Yowie board. High top quality, probably developed cost more than the other version. So that's the chili fries, while SNK vs. Capcom is just a regular fries because, yeah, you mean you have your material, but it's mostly 2D. Again, there you go. Mind you, that's the PAL, and that's what I forgot to mention. That in Europe, the PAL version was published by Ignition. That's the reason why, yes, they have a PS2 version. In America, in the West, it was SNKPlaymore. They're being stubborn. That's what happened. Alright, so yeah, that's the history of what happened of SNK vs. Capcom Chaos. Why the PlayStation 2 was never released in the US, only in the Xbox. And a lot of people were mad about it. And the deal of, oh, can you bundle it with Metal Slug? Because again, it was out of desperation. It was one of the two games that was first released. They just wanted something, $40 as a bundle with Metal Slug 3 and SNK vs. Capcom, because, like I said, one of the characters there, Mars People for Metal Slug, was in the game. They tried that. They said, Sony said, no, it doesn't make sense. And I can agree with it, but I did also email Ben Herman about that. And my response was, let's just move on. From what I heard, he was getting a lot of that email multiple times, again and again and again, to a point that he stopped responding to the email. But again, like, he couldn't do anything about it because, yeah, boss told him, hey, can't do it, cannot do about it. So it is what it is, and it sucks, but that's what happened. So I mean, hopefully the new SNK Entertainment would consider it, but of course you have to talk to Capcom about it. Again, is it a good game? Of course, not so much. It is what it is for that game. And
with that, I'll see you guys later.